The first step in avoiding the trap is knowing it is there. Real strategy requires cunning. Remember that, and your dynasty will rule this land through the ages.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to this Let's Play. I was going to say Total War there, but this is not Total War, it's Crusader Kings Dry. Yes, this how to play, this tutorial, playthrough, whatever you want to call it, learn to play. Alright, I want to clarify one thing quickly. I got a wee bit confused in the last part over one of these pop-ups. I must have misread it or something because I got confused over the wording. If memory serves, I was right initially when I said that, I think I said this initially anyway, but then I got confused, that dynasties were, you couldn't always be you're not always the head of your dynasty, because the dynasty is like a group of rulers all tied from distant family bonds, normally the descendants of one famous person in the past. So you've got like loose connections, like your great uncle Albert's grandson, nephew's son or other is the king of Spain, so he's a member of your dynasty and he's providing a lot of renown to your dynasty. And he may be the head of your dynasty as well, so then he chooses perks that everyone in your dynasty still gets. But he's not tied to you via alliance, he's not tied to you via anything, he's just part of the same dynasty. And he's a completely different house, obviously. And house is what you play as in this game, where you're the head of your immediate family. You're not always your brothers. Brothers are often split off into different houses. But your, like, children, your wife, your parents, your house, basically your immediate family, those immediately under your control, your vassals, that kind of thing. So yeah, just wanted to clarify that from last time, because I think I got muddled up. I think I implied that at first, but then I think something confused me, so yeah. War is an essential part of Crusader Kings. There is a lot of concepts to cover, but for now, let's touch briefly on some of them. War, 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 war. Right, so the most important thing in any war are the battles, which are fought by armies. Most of your soldiers will come from levies, but you can expand your army by employing man-at-arms. So yeah, basically, you've always got access to levies, which is like basically like when you go to all your villages, all your castles and everything, it's like, right, mustering up an army, who's joining? And every second Tom, Dick and Harry comes out of their little hovels with their scythe or their pitchfork and are like, we'll fight for you. Yeah. It's basically your peasant army, which initially, at least, is the bulk of your armies. I wouldn't even qualify them as light infantry, and the game doesn't even qualify them as light infantry, like your rabble. And that's your levies. Then your man-at-arms is your professional army, which you can then, going to cost you a lot of money. They're going to cost, yeah, because you're basically just paying this guy to have a job where he fights for you if you require him to do so. And then it increases the amount it costs when you raise him. So he's got like a cost standing down. So he's at his home, feet on off his feet, hands behind his head, just eating an apple, maybe training an hour or so a day, like, or watching after your castle, not doing anything too strenuous. And he's got like a base pay, which is really low. Then if you summon him and create like a whole army out of them, then they've got like a raised amount cost too, which is obviously a lot more. So yes, open the military tab and we can actually see some of this. Look, here we go here. See, I've got access to 621 levies across my realms. And 6 knights. Knights or champions, if you're further back in time, are characters that are members of your court that are willing to fight for you, and they are pretty powerful. Like, there is obviously variety in their strength because they're characters. They have different martial skills and all that stuff. Memory serves, when its prowess equals 5 levies or something. So for each level of prowess they're worth 5 levies, and they can die, which you will lose them, but you can get new ones. You'll have buildings and stuff that will attract knights and that kind of thing. So they're like your characters and your army. They're like your not generals, I'm trying to think, because generals lead armies, but they're like your lieutenants, so to speak, that you sprinkle throughout your force, and they can duel other knights. They're good at killing enemy troops en masse. They can die, they can get hurt, yada yada yada. And then we've got our men-at-arms here, which we'll just take a quick look. These are all the men-at-arms I have access to, so we can see here it costs 50 gold to raise a unit of light footmen, 75 for bowmen, light horsemen, pikemen, armoured footmen, onagers, and mangonels. And this changes drastically depending on your culture and the amount of technology you currently have. So, like, bowmen, obviously later on in the game there's going to be heavies and knights and all sorts. So yeah. And by knights, I don't mean knights like this, I mean knights as in knights horseback. I wonder if that name changes then. If you get to late medieval times, maybe that becomes lords? I don't know. We'll see. I wonder if it does, because I know if I was mucking about doing some stuff in Ireland on my own, and if you start really in the past compared to this is a 1066 start, but if you do the earlier start dates and your culture is not medieval yet, your culture is tribal. Well, my culture is Irish, but tribal Irish instead of feudal Irish would probably be a good way to word it. Then you have champions instead of knights, so I wonder if that does change, because when you've got mounted knights as units, are they still going to be called knights? I wonder, we'll see. Right, next. War. When war starts, you will be able to raise your armies via the screen Raise All Armies button. When the war is over, you will have to disband your soldiers before starting another war. Rally points, yep, we've got a rally point there, which is where all my troops will muster. Initially, when I raise my armies, there'll just be the knights there, and any man-at-arms I have. Because they're ready instantly, they're just like, boom, we're hearing the call, we're here. And then your levies, they'll take a bit more time, they'll take normally a couple of days, and they'll gather. You'll see your army go from, like, at the moment if I did, I've got no man-at-arms, so it'll just be my 6 knights. And then, like, the turn later, like, it'll go up to, like, 506, because 500 of the levies will arrive. Then the last of the levies will arrive, like, day after that kind of thing, so yeah. Rally points are mustering grounds for your levies and man-at-arms under your command. Yep. War! To start a war, you'll need a legitimate reason, a casus belli, against another ruler. There are various ways to obtain them. You might have de jure titles that make you the rightful liege. We talked about that last time. How, for example, I own the petty kingdom of Munster. Desmond is part of the petty kingdom of Munster, but he's not my vassal. So he is de jure part of my realm, which means by rights he is part of my realm, so I have the right to declare war on him as a de jure part of my realm. Because he is not my vassal, he should be my vassal, so that's me going to war. That make you the rightful liege of your target. You might inherit claims, or you could pursue holy wars against nearby infidels. That is Crusader kings, after all. I'm thinking about the Reconquista in particular, or Jerusalem. There we are down here. Although these are the most common, there are a dozen different types of casus belli and to discover and use in your play. The easiest, most straightforward way to get... Yeah, you can fabricate a claim. It's the most easiest and most straightforward way. It's moved to the bishop. In Crusader Kings 2, it was your steward. You used to be able to use to fabricate claims. And I much prefer the way they do fabricate claims in Crusader Kings 3 than they do in Crusader Kings 2. It was so frustrating, especially if you were on NUUB Island, because one of the best ways to... Well, the only way... Just wet my whistle. When you were playing on NUUB Island in Crusader Kings 2, and you just had your one county, the only way you could reliably get a claim, well, was to fabricate one. Because you can't invite someone to court that has a claim and then just give them a piece of your land because you only had one piece of land, so you can't give away your last piece of land. So you couldn't do any tricks like that to make a vassal and then press your vassal's claim to expand, which is still a good thing to do, by the way. But you couldn't do anything like that because you didn't have, as I said, land to give away. And you couldn't declare war on infidels or anything like that because you're just surrounded by people similar to you. Same culture, same religion. So you were really kind of stuck with a fabricate claim. And even if you had a really good steward back in Crusader Kings 2, it was just a percentage chance of working each year, I think it was. So, like, a really good steward might have a 15% chance of fabricating a claim each year. So you'd stick them in the county you want and get them to work fabricating that claim, and 20 years would go by and you've been really unlucky and that 15% chance hasn't fired. And then other times it'd be like instantaneous, you'd put them there and boom, it's done. And what if you had a really bad steward though, and it's down to like a 5% chance? Then statistically it's going to be around 20 years until you get it. Well, maybe the first year, maybe the 20th, but on average it'll be 1 point in 20 years. And that's before you even factor in bad luck. So yeah, nightmare that could be trying to do NUUB Island just to get that ball rolling. Whereas Fabricate Claim now is just a flat goal they need to reach, and every turn, well, every tick, they work towards it, and the better they are at their job, the more they'll progress towards it. And as soon as they hit that 100%, it's boom! You get your claim. It is much easier to control, it is not luck-based, it is not randomly firing off, it is, yeah. I much prefer Fabricate Claim. And it is now on the Bishop. The Bishop fabricates your claims now, not your Steward. So I'm guessing he's using religious means, because in Crusader Kings 2 it was worded as he's forging documents to say that you're the rightful owner. Now I'm guessing it's some religious, like, I don't know, some religious thing. Like, this guy should be in charge because he's the religious this or that, and that says he owns that through religion. I don't know. Right. I understand. Let's move on. Almost there, unpausing. Soon, we'll let you unpause the game. There's just a few things to go over first. Firstly, it is important to know that there are 5 different speeds available, which you can press. I didn't know about the 1 to 5 key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see it changing at the bottom here. 3 is the default, which I normally play when I'm doing like a war or something like that. 5 I normally use when there's bugger all going on and I just want to pass the time fast. 4 is the sort of middle ground for me. And then 1 and 2 I don't normally really use. But who knows, maybe I'll change in the meta. Maybe there'll be something really finicky in a war that'll make me want to slide it down even more that I don't know about yet. But there's not yet, and that's what I do. 3 is when I'm fighting a war, or I want it to go like an average pace for some reason. 4 in the middle. 5 I've bugger all to do and I want this time to go by. So leave it at 3 for now. And then space unpauses. Or you could just click down here, click on them, or you can just click on these 2. We'll leave it at 3 for now. Next. Starting the game and pausing. To start the game ticking, unpause the game using the spacebar or by pressing the play button. Play. This will let the days, months and years go by. Armies told to do so will move, events will occur on screen, letters will be sent, and characters will age. I understand. What now? Now, as your first task, let us remind your neighbour, the Earl of Desmond, who is his rightful liege. Truly is. Whose rightful liege truly is. If it happens to expand your realm, so be it. Well, should hope it does. Using the character interaction system. So, we'll pop in here, we'll click on him. Hello, mister. I'm going to right click on you, and I'm going to declare war. And seize the Earldom of Desmond de jure. And if we win, we enforce our demands, we gain the contested county. A county title ranking below duchy and above barony. The title capital as well. De jure rights to all baronies and counties. Counties will have blah 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 blah. Declare war. We declared war. Boom! Right, we can click here to raise all our armies now. Or we can do it in here. Remember what we were talking about earlier? How at first we'll only see the 6 knights. So let's say I understand. Army movements, I understand how to move an army. You just right click, move them around the map, that's rather obvious. Now let's unpause time for the first time. And watch as this army grows, as our levies are slowly gathered from here in my local area. And my vassal levies will come over. I've only really got here. But my vassal, I'll draw levies from my vassals too. 506, there we go, you seen it? I unpaused. And it went boom up, boom up. Right. Let's march. We have 626 troops, 620 of our levies, and 6 are knights. He has 420 levies and 5 knights. My commander has 24 martial. So that's really good, that's a really high martial skill, so that'll make him a really good, powerful, strategic leader. Can we see what his leader has? I will see it when we get into the fight. Move that so I can click that. Let's take a look at this now. Now that your army is moving, it is probably heading into battle with an enemy force. This can be a head-on encounter with other armies or the start of a siege. I understand that, yes. Oh, nothing else happening, popping up? Okay, right. Unpause time. A wedding celebration with my marriage. Oh yeah, I forgot we did that right at the beginning. It's asked us to get married, so that's us just getting married. The realm expects us to throw a suitably extravagant wedding celebration. It will be well within my rights to collect a royal aid duty as part of this, but some may consider it tasteless to levy an extra tax during a time of jubilation. Of course I will collect it. Who pays for their own wedding will gain 75 gold. Or, let my subjects enjoy the festivities without worry or care. We gain 350 prestige. You know what, I think I'd rather have the prestige, because we've got quite a bit of money. Like, 826 gold is a lot of gold. We're 751 prestige. There's no great amount of prestige. And I think 350 will probably get me towards the next... well and truly towards the distinguished instead of just established. Let's see. Yep, they gave me like another quarter. Right, oh! Pause, because we've got our first battle! The outcome of a battle between the two armies depends on a number of things. The number of levies both sides have, which, if any, man-at-arms either side is using, the commanders involved, the terrain they're fighting on. There's going to be more than that. Like if we click here, the dice roll that each one makes. So yeah, we've got troops here, and we're of elite quality. Our troops are quite good, but they're elite quality too, so that kind of cancels each other out. 6 knights. We can see my knights have got 15 prowess, 12 prowess, 9 prowess, 9 prowess, 8 prowess, 7 prowess. And his knights, I cannot see how good his knights are. Okay. And I'm pretty sure prowess at the beginning, Oh, can I not? How did I get that to show earlier? During the prowess skill, fight more effectively. Higher prowess means they'll be able to inflict more damage on the enemy and are likely to survive. I'm pretty sure it starts off, and you'll probably have technology that changes this, but 5 prowess is like 5 levies, the equivalent of 5 levies. So yes, we've got a nice little brawl going on here, so let's let the time tick. We're the attacker. There is no men-at-arms, but men-at-arms get different bonuses. Like archers are good against skirmishers, light cavalry are good against archers and skirmishers, like light infantry is good against heavy infantry, and all that sort of stuff. So we can see we're in the early phase of the battle, where archers get a buff and that sort of thing. Now we're in the late phase of the battle. We can see I've got 182 routed or casualties. They've got 214. They've got 89 troops left. 339. There we go. A very simple and very uncomplicated initial battle. Right, I'm going to be back in a second. Right, we're back. Time for a siege. Your army is attacking an enemy holding. Click on the highlighted icon, the spearheads, to find out how it's going. You need to win a siege. You need to win sieges to win most wars, as they increase your war score. Whenever a siege is won, it takes a few rounds of attack. Whenever a siege is won, it takes a few rounds of attack. The area becomes occupied, changing the regular look on the map to a striped one. And you can see here, we'll take a quick look at war score. So this is basically gauging how well you're doing compared to the enemy. And we can see, obviously a war score of 0 means it's neutral, neither side's winning or losing. A war score of -100 basically means you are wiped off the map. You've got literally nothing left, and a war score of 100 is you've done that to your enemy. Then you've got surrender, white peace, or enforced demands, which are the 3 diplomatic options you've got with your enemy. And if we try to enforce demands right now, you can see he will not accept. Because he's got a base reluctance of -99%, and my war score is only at 19. You do get other things that affect this either way, such as if a war's going on for a very long time, or there's some other reason that they do not want to fight anymore, it can give them more acceptance of it. So yeah, base reluctance is 99%, so you need 99% war score for him to admit defeat, basically, or other reasons as well. And you can get war score, as you can see here, war score from held objectives. Held objectives are what you're fighting over. So if you declare war over a county, the person that owns the county will get a large sum of war score, and then you'll get what's also known as a ticking war score, which means every tick of the game, every day, every turnover, because basically even though this game's real time, it's like split into lots of little tiny turns. Every time it does enough ticks, I don't know if it's a day or a month, I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically means you get slightly more war score. So if you hold all the objectives, it might go BAM! 30% war score. And then you hold it for a month, 31 war score. Hold it for 2 months, 32 war score. Hold it for another one, 33. They take it back. You don't lose that tick war score, but you will lose the 30. You get what I'm saying? Then battles, we can see we have won a battle. The size of the battle, the percentage of the armies, and there's lots of stuff that goes into calculating the amount of war score you get, because I only have one army, because he only has one army, and because there's not a lot of troops, and we killed a large portion of his troops. We got a very large war score for one battle. You don't normally get a war score as high as 19% for one battle. It's normally like 1, 2, 3, because normally a war takes several battles to win, and it's a much larger thing than one battle, one siege, done. Then war score from occupied holdings. This basically goes up whenever you hold their territory, and if you hold all their territory, it goes instantly to 100. It is they're done. So yeah, and then you've got war score from prisoners, which is when you take their leader hostage, you take their prince hostage, you take someone that's important to their faction, and you have them prisoner, and so that obviously gives you a lot of war score depending on how valuable that person is. If you take over just a lowly knight that's just doesn't really matter to their leader, you're only going to get like 1 war score. But if you take over his son, his heir, his jewel, his most important person, beloved son, then you're going to get a very high war score. And if you take over him himself, at least on the small, like in small wars, it is instant 100 war score. So you can enforce your demands there and then. So yeah, there's war score and wars, that part. It's probably going to explain that in a second. Right, so I understand sieges. Oh, war score, look, hey, there we go, just explaining what we talked about. Victory, white peace, defeat. So yeah, obviously, victory is where you win, you get to enforce your demands. White peace is where you go back to status quo before the war. The aggressor is sort of treated a little bit like it's like a blow to his ego, and like that sort of thing. It's sort of seen as like a mini loss for the aggressor and a mini victory for the defender. And then defeat, which is where you capitulate and you say, you can have your demands. Right. The exact consequences of any of these changes will depend on the casus belli used. So yeah, if you declare war over a county like we did here, when we enforce our demands, we enforce that casus belli, so this will become part of my realm. And if we did it over... say my vassals right to own this land, we'd install my vassal as the leader. If this guy also owned all this land over here, there's nothing to that land over there. We're fighting over here. That's what the casus belli is. That has nothing to do with this stuff here. When we enforce our demands, we do not take everything. We don't instantly just go, yum, your faction is now mine. It is not like that. It is literally just what the casus belli is, and that's it. I understand. Right, so let's take a look at the siege. So here we are. We can see there's 498 soldiers, and he's got 456. And as long as there is more people outside the castle as there is inside the castle, we will get ticks. We will get progress. And we need to progress the siege to 250% to force them to surrender. Which I'm actually a wee bit worried about, because we're going to be getting attrition, so we might end up... Yeah, we're taking 4 casualties each month due to attrition. If we drop below that 456, it's going to stop ticking. Right, and if you have siege equipment, you can assault the fort, but assaulting the fort is going to cost you a lot of manpower. I know the rule of thumb back in Crusader Kings... No, I'm not thinking of Crusader Kings, I'm thinking the EU. Europa Universalis. The rule of thumb was if you had 10 times more troops, you could risk an assault. I don't know what the meta is going to be like here, but assault, basically, you're going to need siege equipment. you're going to need to vastly outnumber them, and then you can risk the assault, which, depending on the fort level, depending on the number of troops, is going to be a risky and costly endeavour. And there probably will be a rule of thumb that will be something like, if you've got 10%, if you've got 10 times more troops, then it's an okay idea if you need to rush it. But it's normally always better to siege it out if you've got the time, just because you lose so much troops, like assault in a fort. Why risk and waste all those lives willing to sell themselves for you when you can sell them elsewhere and get this for not free but a much reduced cost, unless you can't afford the time. So yes, every 20 days an event will occur that might just be status quo where bugger all happens. It might be the plague starts to spread, then you will get, this will increase to the next level. And what the health does is, the health is a buff to the amount of progress you get. And then they'll might start running out of food, which that is a one-off lump sum to your progress. We can see each day we're making 1 progress towards 250. So if we got a plague, each level of plague gives you 10% to your daily increase. So we'd get, say we got 2 levels of plague, we'd get 1.2 progress each day. But then when it really skyrockets is when you get these on top. The garrison's fully stopped right now, but we get... This goes off and they lose food. That'll be a one-off sum of 10 plus the percentages for this, and that'll really just make it boom up quite a chunk. So let's start advancing time and you'll see this in action. So we can see every day we're gaining 1 progress and we're getting towards the next event. Oh, it's every 14 days. Ah, look, see here. Normally the base is every 20 days, but it's 14 days because... Oh, you must have a... Because of him. Oh, wait! There, look. Military engineer, siege, phase time, negative 30%. So we've got a buff that increases it. So this character is good at sieges. So he's making this every 20 days instead, yeah. And we got siege progress plus 5 because of desertion. So that was a one-off sum of 5. We just got a bonus of 5 from that event. Boom! Oh, nice. Look, here's what I was talking about here. A disease outbreak, which means the garrison's health worsens and they now have a sickness spreading, which gives us 10% to our siege daily progress, which you can see is now 1.1. Nice. There we go. Look at this. Supplies are now running low, which gave us a one-time increase in siege progress. Oh, it's different than I thought. So take back everything I said about that when I said it was a flat increase. It is a flat increase, but it's by 10% of what you've got. Okay, so it's much higher than I thought. I knew that jumped it, and when I was saying it gave you 10, I was like, it does feel kind of low. So completely scratch what I said earlier, I got it wrong. You can see we've got 494 troops left, still more than them. More of them are deserting, plus 5. So if we get... Yeah, this is going well, this is going well. Disease increases, it's now up to 20%, so we're at 1.2 a day. So every 5 days, that's a whole extra one. Oh! You've seen that, it's skyrocketed. Starvation, jump up to 30%. And you can see we're at 203.4 out of 250 in the siege progress. The siege will last at most 31 more days. More of them deserted. 19, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 5, 4, what the? Victory is near. We have conquered his castle. We crushed his castle. Reference to an old game that most people won't know. Right. And with that, folks, I hope you've all enjoyed this. I forgot to end parts in the middle of my recording, so yes, here we are here. Hope you've all enjoyed this. I hope you are all learning how to play. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.